Hello, in this video we're going to look at the Cleveland class light cruiser, the Tier 6 American cruiser, and this is one of the ships that, well, it's really a favourite in World of Warships. I think mainly because it's probably the single most under-tiered ship in the game. At the moment, as I said, it's in Tier 6. I think this ship would actually do pretty good in Tier 7, and even in Tier 8 it wouldn't be particularly weak. What makes this ship really excellent is that it's got, what do you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 small guns, but 12 of them, and they shoot very quickly, and 14.6 is a decent firing range. But the rate of fire and the sheer number of shells this ship can put out gives it a very high DPM, and every shell has a 12% chance of starting a fire if it's firing high explosive, which, well, means if you get the hits, you've got a very good chance of setting enemy ships on fire with this ship. The other really great thing about the Cleveland is its AA guns. As you can see, it's got 13 20mm Oerlikons, 12 40mm Boffers, and 12 of these dual-purpose guns, which is also a pretty powerful secondary armament. And just for comparison, that gives you an AA score of 46, and if we jump up to the New Orleans, the Tier 8 American cruiser, you'll see that stock, it only gets 53. So the thing is, Cleveland down at Tier 6, it's not that much worse than a stock Tier 8 cruiser, and down at Tier 7 you'll see it's actually much better than the stock Pensacola, and even upgraded, Pensacola only gets a score of 50, so it's only a very slight improvement from the Cleveland up to the Pensacola, which means that the Cleveland can absolutely wreck Tier 6 aircraft that come within a few kilometres of it. You see, that's also why I've got my AA range modification, plus 20% to AA mounts maximum firing range, just to put that out a bit further. And if we take a look at my captain, it's also got the plus 20% to AA engagement area radius. Basically, in this ship I'm trying to maximise the range that my AA guns can be effective at, just to try and maximise the damage to enemy aircraft. We'll just go through the stats briefly. Cleveland gets 35,200 combat capacity, which is actually a fair bit, and what you can't see here is that the Cleveland also gets very good armour for a cruiser. I've called this one a light cruiser because its guns are only 6 inch, 152mm, so they're very small, and it's usually categorised as a light cruiser. But because it's got quite decent armour, it's also got no torpedoes, it's a bit on the slow side. Sometimes it feels a bit more like a heavy cruiser, so to my mind it's a bit more of a, well, I suppose a medium you'd call it, kind of in between the two. Partly the reason why I think it should be up at Tier 8 is because it's very heavy for a light cruiser. Anyway, I digress. Already talked about the main battery, 7.5 rounds per minute, very effective, especially 12 guns. And anything else you need to know there? 134 meters maximum dispersion is actually very accurate. Only real downside is the turret reverse of 180 degree, or 32.7 seconds to turn 180 degrees is actually quite poor for a light cruiser. It tends to be something more like what a heavy cruiser would have. Secondary armament, short range, 4 kilometers, but there's a fair bit of it, and the secondary guns are actually not that much smaller than your main caliber guns, so they are useful if you get into a short range engagement. Already talked about the AA guns. Maneuverability, as I said, it's a bit weak for a light cruiser. 33 knots of top speed is not that great. As I said, it's something more akin to a heavy cruiser. 9.4 second shift time on the rudder. It's good but not great. Same as 660 meters turning circle radius. Good but not great. And the detectability range, you're not really going to be hiding from much. 13.3 kilometers, so you can fire off a salvo from your main battery before you're spotted, which is useful, but that's about the only advantage you're getting from your 50 concealment points. Air detectability range 8.1 kilometers. yeah, you're going to get spotted fairly easily, and as I said, you get one salvo and then you're spotted. Just... what more is there to say about the Cleveland? You get a couple of scout planes, which in patch 4.0 they will have fighters, which might also be useful for your anti-aircraft work, especially if they could cause enemy bombers to slow down as they fly past you, giving your AA guns time to work, because that's what's going to get you the kills. But other than that, let's actually just get into some gameplay and I'll show you what the Cleveland's all about and how it can just absolutely dominate gameplay at tier 6. Well, I wasn't really able to absolutely dominate gameplay. I've got two games for you here. This first one is where I absolutely wreck some enemy aircraft, just to show you the AA capability, but I don't do very well, I just don't get the opportunity to do very well against enemy shipping. Well, the next game is the opposite. I have absolutely no opportunity to shoot down enemy aircraft, but I do pretty well against enemy ships in, well, a pretty laughable situation, to be honest. But anyway, this first game, I was tossing up a bit at the start about whether to defend the aircraft carrier from air attacks or the battleships from air attacks, and I eventually decided to go protect the battleships, mainly because I was actually seeing the minimap now. I could see a big long stream of aircraft heading south from the nearest aircraft carrier, and I figured they'd spot enemy aircraft well before they get to, you know, the aircraft carrier will be in danger. So really, they should be pretty alright to look after themselves. And if they're not, I've actually got plenty, well not plenty, but lots of time to get back to intercept the enemy aircraft. So instead I've gone over to the battleships and I'm just going to do a big turn now to put myself on the same heading as them, but a couple of kilometres nearer to the enemy so that I can engage any destroyers that are coming up and trying to rush them. Just doing my turn now. I was hoping I could get some shots through here, but the island's going to be in the way, so it's not going to happen. And that destroyer's just out of range. And well, now it's no longer visible either, so no opportunities there. I've also just cut back on my throttle a bit, just so that I don't run too far ahead of the battleships. But aside, screw it, and I'm going to go anyway, mainly because I saw these enemy aircraft coming in. And at first I didn't know where they were going. I thought it looked kind of like they were heading after this destroyer, which seems like quite a waste. And then I figured they're actually just scouting out and looking for targets at the moment. But I've ordered my AA gunners to target the torpedo bombers when they come in range. And they'll shoot at anyone else as long as the torpedo bombers aren't in range. And, well, just now the enemy aircraft have spotted our battleships and they're turning in towards them. But my AA guns are starting to shoot down the enemy aircraft already. And I use my AA boost ability. I've shot down 2. 3, and my lower cavalry guns are in range. No, 5, 8 aircraft shot down. There's 6. Switch focus to the dive bombers, and there's 7 shot down. 8, and well, I got hit by a bomb set on fire. Put that out, but I've shot down 9 of the enemy. 10, 11, 12, and I believe I get one more before they go out of range. Nope, I have to settle for 12. And well, that's a pretty good start to the game. I got, well, that was to my advantage. Those aircraft were from an enemy Bogue, which it's only tier 5 aircraft, so they die pretty easily to my anti-aircraft fire. And well, if you've watched my Bogue review, you'll know that they only get, well, a maximum of 28 aircraft. So that Bogue's lost almost half of its aircraft just in that one pass. It's, you know, done alright, got 20 hits on the enemy there and started a fire on that battleship. But I've got cruisers and destroyers in front of me and I've been set on fire again. And there's torpedoes coming in, so I stopped so that I don't run straight into them. But this is kind of where I have to be if I want to shield my battleships from these enemy cruisers and destroyers. Take a shot at the destroyer, hoping I was going to hit it, but no luck, so I switch my focus to this cruiser. which is kind of a priority because the Murmansk also has torpedoes, so I don't want to let it get too close to my battleships. Managed to get 8 shots here. As I said, these guns are pretty accurate if you can aim, but as you see, I can't always aim. Wait, the Murmansk is dead. And now that destroyer's in the smokescreen and firing away at me. It's launched more torpedoes, and again I have to slow right down to avoid hitting them. But I managed to do so. And I've actually lost half my hit points. Mainly from being set on fire, and well, you can see me losing a little bit every time from these destroyer shells, but I also took some big hits from the battleship earlier on. While the Cleveland does have armour, it's not really enough to protect you from battleship shells. When I wasn't looking, the destroyer poked back up, but can't see it now. But here's the enemy cruiser, and that's worth shooting at. I've ordered my guys to switch to armour piercing after this, because, well, I could penetrate that guy's hull with armour piercing. There are very few ships that the Cleveland can. It's basically the only things I really shoot armour piercing at are enemy light cruisers. But at tier 6, this is the only light cruiser you're really going to encounter often. Well, you've got the Omaha and Murmansk at tier 5 and the Atlanta at tier 7. And even then, the Cleveland actually has a lot of armour, so I don't fire armour piercing at enemy Clevelands, just the Omahas, Murmansk and Atlantas, and, well, the Phoenix and the Kuma if I see them. But everything else gets high explosive from me. Well, here's the destroyer. So I'm taking a guess and firing my forward turrets, and then I'm having to turn because I'm running aground, but I just don't know it yet. And that island was a bit oddly shaped, so I was looking on the map thinking I'd go past it. That wasn't the case. Fire some high explosive at the destroyer, mainly because it's my job to kill destroyers. The battleships I can leave for later. Or it's not so much that I can leave for later, it's that it's the job of destroyers and battleships to kill them. Decide no other target to shoot at, I fire away at the battleship.
Team has taken the lead.
And get 8 hits of my 12 that I fired, and I managed to set it on fire, which will hopefully give me a bit more damage. And here's another destroyer, which it's my job to kill, but I don't quite lead enough, so I don't get any hits there. And I'm not entirely sure what to do at this point. It kind of looks to me like we're going to win around the A point, so I'm not needed there, but that's where all the ships I should be escorting are. So the other option, what I decided to do, is to start to head into B and try and, essentially contest that cap, since the enemy are trying to grab it. Well, at the moment we're actually trying to grab it, but the enemy have 2 ships around there to our single destroyer. So I'm trying to hit this cruiser, and so far no luck, but these shots look pretty good. 5 hits, did a few thousand damage there. That's the Alba, my Japanese equivalent. Did a few more shots in, but they're all doing very low damage. But this destroyer is my main priority. Kind of take a piece where it goes, and I don't think those are going to hit. It looked like it was turning back. And just there's some more enemy aircraft heading straight up the centre. But again, there's no friendly ships in that area, so I'm not entirely sure where they're going. I'm guessing again, they're probably scouting out, just seeing what they can find. But, well, I've lost sight of the aircraft, but I know they're out there somewhere. Same as that destroyer I've lost sight of, but I know it's around somewhere. And, well, it looks like these torpedo bombers are coming right at me. I use my AA boost again, and, well, my AA guns managed to shoot down all the aircraft before they can lose it or fire a torpedo at me. Tell my gunners to switch focus to the enemy fighters who are flying nearby and get a few more of them before I see some dive bombers. And I turn my ship broadside onto them, both to make it a bit more difficult for them to aim, and it also puts all my anti-aircraft guns in a position where they can fire at it. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I shoot down a lot of them as well. And then, when I think they've dropped their bombs, I switch to the next squadron of dive bombers that's coming at me. And my AA boost has just run out, which is very unfortunate. but well, I take some hits, and I don't actually have much luck shooting down this second squadron of torpedo dive bombers. Well, I get 2 of them, 3 of them just there, so I suppose that's actually pretty alright. It just took a bit of time. So, well, there you go. I'm up to, well, just got another one, so that's 30 enemy aircraft shot down in the Cleveland. And we're winning this game pretty well. Only problem is the enemy hold all 3 of the cap points. As here, it looks like we've just managed to win an A, so we'll be grabbing that one pretty soon. Oh no, actually not. There's an enemy ship still around there somewhere. So we've got to sink that one first. Put a few shots into this cruiser. But now myself and this Izokaze are actually in the B cap circle. But likewise, we can't cap it yet because the enemy destroyer is still hiding somewhere in this cap circle. And really there's only one spot it can be, which is behind that island. So what I was thinking is the destroyer is clearly going to go around the left side, so I figured I'd go around the right side. And, you know, one of us won't get shot by the enemy destroyer. Only problem is this destroyer is kind of in my way. And seems to be slowing down, so I can't get where I want to go. So eventually I decided I'm just going to keep going and it'll get out of my way, which it does. If the destroyer's on the other side of the island, it's clearly popped smoke. So, really in this case it's just which one of us will get lucky. And it looks like it's going to be my friendly destroyer. Enemy destroyers fired torpedoes. Only 3 of them though, which means it's probably still got 3 loaded. Or at least I hope it doesn't, but it probably does. But we come around at point blank range. I fire my guns and it fires its torpedoes and I have no hope of dodging those. But I do manage to get the kill. And well, I'll try my best, but that wasn't ever going to happen. But that's the chances you take, and in that situation I kind of felt like we were going to win this game pretty easily at that point. And you see, we did, so I kind of felt okay at sacrificing my life there. Wasn't the best on my team, but so I didn't really get a chance to do much in the anti-ship role, but I shot down 30 aircraft, which is pretty good. I mean, I was up against Bogues, so I shot down more aircraft than one of the enemy carriers held, and a couple of extra. But I just didn't do much damage against ships, and kind of threw my life away, being a bit too aggressive at the end there. Right, this next game, as I see it at start, it's a bit of the opposite. This one, well, I see, I think, 1 enemy aircraft, which I shoot down, but mostly I'm engaging enemy ships. And, well, it's going to be an interesting situation. You'll see it when it happens. So, in this game, well, it's on what's called hotspot, and the enemy have 1 aircraft carrier, but I don't know whether that enemy carrier is in kind of the northeast or the south, no, the northwest or the southeast of the map. So I don't know where to position myself in regards to my battleship just there and the friendly aircraft carrier near me. I don't know where to position myself to protect them from anti-aircraft fire. So basically I'm sticking close to this battleship for a start and heading up to the A capture point just to try and, well, whatever direction the battleship gets attacked from, I'll be able to provide some support, even if it's not particularly effective. And also moving into the cap circle is good for helping to win the game. And I actually really don't like starting in this position on the map, because your options are to go right, which is very exposed and puts you right in the centre straight at the start, or to go to the left, which takes you way out of the action for a long time, or very far away from the central cap circle, or you can go through this narrow channel, which is usually quite suicidal. So we've reached the point where I basically have to make a decision which way to go, and none of them are particularly good, but I decide to follow the Furutaka way around to the west, even though I know that basically the engagement on the far west here tends to be kind of irrelevant for the outcome of the game. It's just too far away from all the cap circles. Take a few shots at enemy destroyers, which is not much of a shot, but I could theoretically hit it. Of course, in practice I do not. I also should mention that the enemy aircraft carrier was down in the southeast, but it's focusing on the Allied ships up in the northeast, so we're not going to see any of its aircraft throughout this game. What we are going to see is this single enemy scout craft, which is flying over the central island right now, and in a second or two, I believe, I will see it, I will order my AA guns to target it, and I will kill it. And that's my aircraft kill for this game. Anyway, there are 3 enemy ships heading to the west, a Cleveland, the same as me, a Pensacola, which is the Tier 7 American heavy cruiser, so the one that comes after the Cleveland, and a battleship, which I think was in New Mexico, which is kind of a powerful thing, but I've got a Colorado behind me, which is also very powerful, and a Furutaka, which isn't that great, but it's got big guns, so can do well, and as you see there, it's also got torpedoes. But I'm mostly going to be firing high explosive here. The first ship that comes around the corner is the Cleveland, and I fire a broadside. Now don't bother watching where it goes because I'm scared I'm going to ram the Furutaka. But I managed to set it on fire after having 9 hits, so that was 75% of my shells hit. I'm not quite aiming far enough ahead, but I managed to start a second fire with 8 more hits. And luckily the enemy team are all shooting at that Furutaka, but I start to turn as well because I do not want to come under fire of all these enemy ships. Take another shot at the Cleveland, and I wasn't sure who to shoot at here. The Pensacola was shooting at me, but I decided to keep going at the Cleveland for now. And now that my Colorado's in the action, and it's shooting, I decided to focus down the enemy battleship. Basically, I thought this engagement was going to be decided by the battleship versus battleship fight, and that my best bet of winning this battle is to help our battleship sink this enemy that I'm firing at, and then we can deal with whoever's left. So I've managed to set it on fire, but it puts the fire out quickly, which means that if I can set it on fire again, which I've actually just done, it's a good chance to be able to burn for a long time. But I was actually a bit too quick there, and it was able to put that fire out with the same repair ability. And then, as the way things happen, I actually go a while without being able to set it on fire again, even though I'm getting quite a few hits here. Oh no, there's my fire. So it's going to burn for a while. Now I have to stop and dodge because this Furutaka, while it was stopping, and it died in front of me, and it actually fired torpedoes, and you can quite clearly see one of those torpedoes is going to hit our Colorado in the back and take away a quarter of its health, which kind of ruins my plans just to help the Colorado win the battleship fight here, because the Furutaka basically sabotaged that. And actually I'm not sure the Colorado is even fighting the battleship, I think it's firing at the Pensacola. But anyway, the Colorado's dead, and now I'm the only friendly ship over here, and I've got a Pensacola and a New Mexico able to fire at me. So the Cleveland pulled back after I set it on fire, and it's still out of the fight. But really we should have won that fight, it's just that we didn't focus our fire very well. Apparently I was the only person that thought that firing at the battleship was good. I mean, except for the Furutaka, who thought that torpedoing its allies in the back was a good idea. So now I'm running, and I'm having to go through that channel, which I said earlier was a bit suicidal. And while it's happening, I'm continuing to fire away at this battleship. Something's hit me and set me on fire, but so far I haven't actually taken a lot of damage. And I'm still hitting this battleship with, well, on a pretty regular basis. And considering that I've been the only person firing at it, I believe, it's actually lost a lot of its health. Now here comes the awkward part. I'm going through this channel, which is very narrow, but I want to continue to bring all my guns to bear while dodging enemy fire, which, as you see, took a few hits there from the battleship and a lot of damage. I have armour, but it can't really stand up to battleship shells. And unfortunately, because of my attempt to dodge, I've actually managed to run aground here. I'm trying to reverse out of it, but I'm actually going to end up being incredibly stuck here, and that I can't reverse out and I can't move forward out, and that big salvo from that battleship actually destroyed one of my rear-facing turrets, which means that I can only bring 3 of my guns to bear. But fortunately, my high explosive shells and the fires they've caused have actually almost killed this battleship. And you see, I'm trying to get out, but I'm not having any luck at all here. I probably could if I wasn't under fire and having to shoot back at these enemy ships. But, well, I am. So basically decided I'm not going to live through this. But fortunately, my team's actually winning basically everywhere else on the map. And I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can right now. But I die. But the enemy battleship's on critically low health. And I knock it down to a couple of hundred hit points. And my fire manages to kill it.
Enemy battleship destroyed.
So I'm actually kind of okay with that result. I mean, it was a bit of a joke, the Furutaka torpedoing our Colorado in the back, which kind of decided that engagement, basically meant that we weren't going to live in that engagement, or at least we weren't going to win. But considering how everything went wrong, I'm kind of okay with getting away with, well, a lot of hits, 10 fires, and sinking an enemy battleship. Yep. And here's the final results. 109,000 credits, 1200 experience, so not that great. But in that situation, I could have done better if I hadn't run aground. As you see, 40,000 damage from 152 hits, and 33,000 damage from the 10 fires I started. So that is actually a pretty good result. And that's the kind of thing you want in the Cleveland. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.